Hello, everybody. This is the Chocolate News Podcast. Today's show is sponsored by Cincinnati Public Schools. I'm your co-host, John Alexander Reese.
And I'm your co-host, Morgan Angelique Owens.
And if you don't know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955 and is the leading African-American owned newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area and northern Kentucky area. And today we have with us our digital correspondent, Andria Carter. How's it going, Andria?
Fine, John. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And we also have our special guest, CEO of Democracy America, Yvette Simpson. How you doing, Yvette?
Doing well. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Now, before we hop on over to our main topic, we're going to start with some chocolate news. So, Andrea, what's the chocolate news of the week?
Well, it's been a very interesting week for chocolate news, but I'm going to start with the one that's the most painful for everybody right now, which is we're seeing the gas prices continually to go up. I don't think we've seen $4 in a long time for gas. It sort of reminds me way back when I was a kid of the 70s with the gas crisis. Gasoline went up, but I think even then, I think the highest was like $3 maybe, but I was a kid then. But now everyone is hurting. Gas prices are all over the place. In California, it's $6 a gallon. Chicago, it's $5. Here, it's $4. They're saying that $5 might not be too far off. So everyone has to be careful about their gas budgets on how they're driving, how they're traveling, things like that. So it's very, very, very hurtful. And it's unfortunate because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine has affected gas supplies, oil supplies, and oil investors are sort of betting on the future of what gas prices will be. And so they are buying the futures market, which is causing gas prices to go up when right now our gas supply is somewhat fine, but it's being very, very hurtful. So that's our first chocolate news of the day. The next one is a little note on the Bengals. They put a franchise tag on safety Jesse Bates III. I'm still sort of figuring out why, but he had a good game. He played a great season. I would think that you want to keep everyone you want that you had last year for the next season to, just ensure that you're going to do the same thing again. But then again, I'm not a coach and I don't understand football, but I know what I like to see when I see them in football uniforms. So that's the chocolate news for that. Unfortunately, go back to a little sad news. The death toll regarding the pandemic is now at 6 million. It has entered the third year, which is unfortunate. People are still getting COVID, but not as much as they used to. So a lot of mask mandates are being lifted around the country. And here in Cincinnati, the city lifted its mask mandates. All the all the theaters in the area have lifted their mask mandates, and Cincinnati Public Schools has lifted their mask mandate. So it's kind of like, if you feel comfortable being in a place with a lot of people, you don't have to wear masks, or if you feel that you just are not comfortable, you do wear a mask. So that's pretty much the chocolate news of the day for now.
I also want to talk about the mask mandate too for Cincinnati Public Schools, because actually that happened on Monday night, I believe.
Yeah, it happened Monday night, and then the city and the theaters followed like on Tuesday.
I guess, I don't know, I actually don't know how to feel about that. I'm glad that we're reaching towards the end point of the pandemic where we feel that we don't need to wear a mask anymore. But at the same time, I'm still feeling a little bit cautious. So like I said, it's definitely not guaranteed, because I think the school board said that, there may be a point in time where, they might bring back the mandate, but I hope that they don't, though. So I hope that we're reaching, towards the end of the pandemic where we don't need to wear the mask anymore.
Well, I think I understand everyone's feeling comfortable. A lot of people have gotten vaccinated. A lot of people have had COVID, but I think we're still in a pandemic. The CDC has not said the pandemic is over. The World Health Organization has not said the pandemic is over. We're seeing a reduction in numbers of people getting COVID, people going to the hospital. There's some ease there, things like that. But we're still not out of the woods yet. There still could be a new strain that comes up. But I think right now, everyone who's been vaccinated, maybe one or two people who thought the vaccine would prevent them from getting COVID has gotten COVID. So now it's just a matter of be careful who you're around, who do you trust, hand sanitize, keep doing the protocols. If you feel comfortable with people, you don't have to wear a mask. If you don't feel comfortable being in a large crowd, wear a mask. I think it's just with the school children, it's a little iffy, but Pfizer is about to start testing a pill, especially geared toward elementary school children. And if it works out well, there will be a pill for the kids to be able to take. So if they do get COVID, they'll be able to take that instead and be treated. So there's a lot of potential for the future as we live with this pandemic and get comfortable with it and move forward.
Definitely. So that's it for Chocolate News. And now I want to switch to the main topic of the day, which is Yvette Simpson. And she is the CEO of Democracy America. Thank you for joining us today, Yvette.
Thank you for having me, John. Thank you for having me, Andria. Y'all were covering that news. The quick rundown of the week. I like it. That was good.
Sometimes we have a good time with it. And
Mhm.
we, when there's an exciting topic, this week has been a little bit more somber because we didn't mention Ukraine. We didn't mention the primaries that are going on. It can get a little heavy, but we have to have a little light as well. And, with
That's right.
chocolate news, chocolate is fluid. It can be solid or it can be liquid. So
All
we
right.
need to go with the flow and be flexible and go with that. But for today, I'm glad to have you on because we are in the beginnings of the election season of where people are trying to decide who they want to represent them. We've had a lot of issues going forward. And I would say not just from a local standpoint, but from a national standpoint, what should people be looking at? Well, let me start off and just say, why don't you explain to people first, what is Democracy for America so people understand what that organization is?
Absolutely. Democracy for America is an 18-year-old PAC. We're one of the largest coordinated PACs, political action committees in the country. We were founded by Howard Dean. You might remember the Dean scream. He ran for president back in 2004. And after he, of course, didn't advance and didn't become our president, he turned his campaign into Dean for America. You've seen that with other presidents, OFA coming out of Obama for America, Hillary's done it, Bernie's got our revolution. But I think we're probably the longest running organization coming out of a failed presidential bid. So that's pretty good. Since our founding, we've helped elect over 1,100 candidates and directly contributed $70 million to races collectively. And that doesn't count, of course, that's direct support. That's not all the other work that we do to support candidates. So, and still counting. And we've had tens of millions of voter contacts in that time as well. So it's a great organization to lead. This is a really big year. We can talk about the midterms and what that's going to look like. I'm happy to share that. But we've been fortunate to have some amazing candidates, especially in this generation, folks who, it's not their birthright. They don't expect to be candidates. They don't expect to have a seat in power, but we're helping encourage them to run for office and we're helping them win. We represented and supported all 4 members of the squad when they were running in their primaries. And our legacy is long. Obama was a Dean's dozen. He was one of our early endorsements when he ran first for state Senate and then, of course, for Senate and then for president. And so early supporters of Barack Obama. And we have an amazing history and reputation of helping create and found other big progressive organizations in the movement. Won't bore you with that, but we're kind of a granddaddy in the progressive movement and have been here for a long time doing this great work. I'm the first woman to lead the organization and the first Black woman to lead the organization. We had a male of color who led our organization a few years back. So I'm proud to have taken the mantle. I started federal elections manager in 2018, running those important key congressional races. And then I took over as CEO in 2019. It's been a really, really great run.
Wow, that's 2 years?
3 years as CEO, 4 total.
3 years. Wow. I mean, so you've seen a lot on the national stage. And for voters who have gone through, we have survived some wacky elections, January 6th, things like that. What is important going into this election cycle with the midterms? What should voters be paying attention to as they try to go to the ballot box for the primaries first, then for general election?
Well, one, I'd say be ready for all kinds of foolishness. What we know is that at least in 19 states, there have been real legislation passed to try to prevent Democratic voters and Black and brown voters in particular from voting. And I just came back from our big trip to Texas. Texas was the first primary that we had. We had 4 candidates on the ballot, had record number of early vote rejections and early vote ballot rejections, both applications and ballots, record numbers. A significant number of people whose ballots were thrown out. People who have voted in every election showing up on election day and been sent home. They're not showing up at the book. Delays in ballot counting, delays in opening voting locations. So what I'm telling people is be prepared. What we know from last cycle is that, and this is just my opinion, Republicans are really doing whatever they can to keep people from voting because that's the way they believe they can win. And we are ready for it. We had 4 races, 2 went to runoff and 2 we won outright. We feel really, really good about those runoff races, despite the fact that we've seen some real craziness. Now, we don't expect Republicans to be that casual about it in the general election. They don't care about primaries, right? They get their person, we get our person. But we're on the lookout for one of these other states where this has happened. Georgia's one of them where they passed those arcane voter laws, and we are expecting other states to take that same tack. So check your voter registration status and make sure that your voter registration is updated. We know that purging has happened in Ohio before, voter purging. Get as many people as you know to register. Vote early. And if you're going to vote by mail, vote early. If you're going to vote in person, vote early. We don't know what kind of craziness is going to happen on election day. Be vigilant. If you have time and capacity, sign up to be an elections official. We need more people. We're seeing in the South a lot of intimidation of voter elections officials. And so that's forcing out a lot of our people. And so they're getting in more of the people who are, people who don't believe that Joe Biden is the rightful president, people who have pledged not to certify even a validly cast ballot or a validly won election. We need regular, everyday people to sign up and be a part of this process so that we can make sure that our democracy is protected.
Especially because the Cincinnati Herald is, I should say the Chocolate News is especially geared toward the Black voter. What should we be specifically looking at and doing, especially our young people who don't vote, who don't read, but they like to listen to music, they like videos. What should we be doing to encourage them to vote?
Well, it's very important for us to tell young people how important this is. And I think the hardest part, and I was saying this to somebody really close to me not long ago, is very few young people have ever felt, experienced, or even heard what it's like to be denied the right to vote, right? Like they've always had the option. They don't know what it means for their vote to be taken away or not counted. The old folks like us got to pass these stories down and let them know that people fought and died for your right to vote and that your vote is your voice, so that they see it as something that is a benefit and a privilege that they should take advantage of. Get all these young people registered and make sure that they have the information that they need to vote, and remind them that this is not just about one ballot. We're fighting for the soul of America. We're fighting for our democracy. And if they don't show up, we lose. And they're not going to like what they see, because we're already starting to see, and we could spend a whole hour talking about all the infringements we're seeing from Republicans in, LGBT rights being reversed in certain places, reproductive rights being reversed. We're going backwards as it relates, this whole conversation about CRT and what we teach people in history and banning books. And, you got to show up. And I want to see young people run for office, school board, always opportunities there. Again, elections officials, precinct executives, run for city council. Make sure that you get out there, because we need that leadership. Millennials are a very, very big generation. And if we get them engaged, they can really make the difference between a win and a loss. So just make sure that they understand that this is your life. You don't want somebody else making your mind up for you. So you need to show up so that your voice is heard and you make up your own mind. And that's what I try to tell young people. And you can register at voters at 17 as long as they will be 18 by the time they vote. So get those young people voting, get them registered.
I would say that the interesting thing was President Biden State of the Union. The State of the Union was very interesting because it showed his leadership, it showed his knowledge. It wasn't inspiring, but especially for Black people. I mean, he briefly mentioned the Voting Rights Act and that needs the passage, but it was just like a hot 30 seconds and then he moved on to something else. And it seems like for his political survival, he has moved to the middle. instead of being that progressive candidate that got him in office. I mean, what can we do to encourage people who, quote, represent us to represent us and our issues? But
You know,
also,
I think, yeah, so go ahead.
go ahead.
No, you had a follow-up.
Well, I was going to say that, our issues don't benefit everybody else. So, but no one is seeing that. They're just seeing Black.
Yeah, I think, I was a little surprised by Biden's speech too. I guess surprised is the wrong word. I think he was trying his best. He's still trying to strike this chord where everyone will support him. And that's just not true. He tried to get some quick wins from Republicans. I had noted at the State of the Union after show that I did for ABC, he did that, don't defund, we need to fund police. And my whole thought was like, I don't care if you support defund or not, you shouldn't be saying that. We know that this is about police accountability, which still hasn't been done. They haven't done anything. The George Floyd Policing and Justice Act was basically dead on arrival when Republicans started touching it. He's still trying to build this bipartisan thing. And my opinion is there's just certain people you can't play in the sand with. And if they believe that Black people's lives don't matter, if they believe that Black history should be erased, maybe we just don't want them on our team. And I think because he's doing that, because he's trying to appease this far right element to build this weird populism that doesn't exist anymore, he left out Black and brown voters who brought him to the table. And folks are never going to forget that. You sweep over voting rights. We're excited about Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited about her. She's going to be amazing when she's, and we're excited about Kamala, right? Like people are crediting him, and rightly so, for being the first president to nominate to vice president that is Black woman, and also a Supreme Court justice is a Black woman. And also on the ground, how are people feeling? We still have, right after George Floyd, we had Amir Locke, same police department. We need to have federal legislation ending qualified immunity. We need more police accountability. And he didn't talk about any of that.
No, I mean, in fact, the Washington Post had an interesting article today about how many government government cities, let's put it like this, how many cities are having to dip into their coffers to pay off lawsuits and settlements regarding police departments who are not doing right by the people who they police.
That's right.
And that wallet is getting, that hit in that wallet is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're not curbing their police departments to say, you need to stop this, because that's affecting their budget. That's the tax revenue that everyone is depending on. I mean, here in Cincinnati, it's interesting that because of the collaborative agreement, we're not seeing that same scenario that's been going on around the country, but we have efforts to try and take us back as well.
Yeah.
I mean, which is sad, but it is, I mean, how do we move forward as voters, as Black people? How do we move forward and support those diverse candidates who are going to speak to our issues, whether they're progressive or not, or moderate or not, or Republican or Democrat? I mean, who do we trust? I think, unfortunately, Trump has wounded us politically. We've gone through so much in January 6th that we are traumatized. How do we get past that trauma? I should say political trauma, as some people are calling it. How do we get past that? How do we heal that wound?
There are people whose lives don't change no matter who's in office. And those are the people that I worry about, right? Like, they've been struggling and suffering the whole time. And Trump awakened a whole part of the electorate that was doing just fine before. And then all of a sudden we get a crazy president and they're like, wait a minute, we got to get rid of this guy. But now that he's gone, they're like, oh, back to normal. But there are people whose lives never change. And that's what we've got to combat, right? Like, government should work for the people by the people. We need to continue to organize and advocate for great candidates. And when people get elected, we got to hold them accountable. Because once, like, people are like, oh, you elect the guy and you wait and he's going to do everything. That doesn't happen. Most elected officials have a lot of people in their office, a lot of, this, Andria, a lot of people in their ear. And you want to be the loudest and most consistent voice. But so get out there, go to meetings, be heard. You pay your taxes, make sure folks are doing what you ask them to do, make sure you're holding their feet to the fire, make sure you let them know what's going wrong, take them to the place and point it out, and expect and demand that folks do what they say they're going to do. And I think that's the real challenge, where people are being disconnected from their elected officials, because they elect people and then all of a sudden those folks aren't doing it. And they're like, see, politics is bad. I told you, right? But we have to hold our folks accountable. And we have to make sure that especially folks like the Democratic Party, which I'm a part of, love my party, and also will be the first one to call them out when they don't do the right thing. And will hold their feet to the fire if they come back to me and ask me to help them the next time and they didn't do the right thing. So we got to make sure we're advocates for ourselves and for our communities in these spaces, because guess what? The big money people are going to be in their ear.
Mhm.
The lobbyists are going to be in their ear. The wealthy are going to be in their ear. Why shouldn't they hear from us? You know, DFA has been really committed to, you know, we make our candidates take a no corporate PAC pledge. You need to make sure that your money is coming from real people. We don't want you to be accountable to folks whose values are inconsistent with the rest of us. And what we've seen through the pandemic is the richer getting richer and the poor getting poorer. And that divide is getting wider. So what I would say is be really vigilant consumers of politics. And I think the biggest myth that damaged us as a society is this: don't talk politics at work, don't talk politics at church, don't talk politics at your dinner table. Talk about politics. It's in you. It's affecting you, whether you talk about it or not. So you have to have these conversations. We got to educate our people about why it's so important for them to get involved.
With with Russia invading Ukraine,
Yeah.
and it is affecting us with the gas, with the politics, we may be seeing troops are being sent over right now to support NATO, but not confront Russia, because if that happens, that's World War III. What should the voters be looking at? Because of this is affecting us with inflation so many different ways. What should we be paying attention to?
Well, you know, it's even deeper than that, because I think one of the things that we need to remember about inflation is it's cyclical. You can't avoid it. What goes up, comes down, goes up, comes down again. And so folks are trying to blame Biden and policies and all this stuff for inflation. This was our time. It was going to happen. Recessions happen on average every 10 years. It was coming. It was made deeper by a pandemic, a once in a generation pandemic that destabilized our economy, took 6 million people out of our world, out of our tax base, out of our lives, out of, the buying things in our GDP. So of course that was going to create a strain on our economy, right? We know that. So this inflationary thing is natural. It's just something that's going to happen. Now it gets exacerbated when you've got the first major land war since World War II.
Yes.
We're already there, right? Like most of us have not lived to see a land war happening in Europe, and it's happening with social media in real time. People can see it. So the trauma, let's talk about trauma of watching and knowing that this is happening. What we know about Russia is about one thing: domination. They want to dominate Europe, and eventually they want to dominate the world. They want to be the big guy. Putin has always wanted that. And so his invasion of Ukraine is about that. It's about him taking Ukraine. If he takes Ukraine, he's coming for more. We cannot allow it to happen, right? Like we just cannot. People are hearkening back to World War II and what this means, and even stuff about Germany and what we know Hitler was all about, right? Mm-hmm. This is about him having control. And so everything that we can do and we need to do, not just in a human nature, human rights setting, because these are real human people who are being sacrificed because a man wants more power. That's not okay. So anything you can do to support that effort. I know Kharkiv is our sister city. I know you know that well. You work with sister cities, Andria. I know there's a lot of stuff happening where we're sending things and we're making sure there's capacity, and there's a lot of organizations on the ground, like the World Food Project, that are making sure people have food and shelter. My nephew just went back into active service. He's in a non-combat position, so I'm praying that he doesn't get called up. He's got a baby coming. It's a big deal. So we know that this is going to be bigger than anything we've ever seen. I think what we've got to do is use our instincts and our gut and be good humans. And let's make sure that we're telling our government to listen to the right people. We have to stop this thing. It cannot go much further. I don't know if we can survive watching President Zelensky go down with the ship. I mean, no. We just can't survive that. And so I, of course, I'm pretty close to this work with our work on the Hill, and what we know, and you've probably seen over the last couple of days, they're stepping up the escalation, which is very, very important, starting with financial sanctions on Russia, then on the oligarchs, and then now you're seeing private business pull out. The no-fly zone is still a question, the oil reserves, and stopping import of Russian oil. These are all things trying to get Putin's attention. trying to get folks who are around him to say, okay, sir, you're losing this thing, stop it.
Well,
But
I
at some
think,
point we have to stop it. I mean, we can't see it continue.
well, I think what I find is the united front that the Western allies have done financially, everyone pulling out. Adidas was on CNBC today talking about how they're shutting down, not shipping any products to Russia and other things like that. And I mean, it's just amazing how quickly the Russian economy just went into recession. And
He's cost them billions and billions and billions of dollars. I mean,
and I think people were so upset they couldn't use their Apple Pay. And just, the fact that it hit them so hard and they went to the ATM to get money out and they can't get money out is just unreal. And they're protesting, telling him, stop.
Yeah.
Just stop. And he's not paying attention. I know he's angry because I'm seeing the reports that he's angry. But for those of us who did not grow up with the war, I grew up at the tail end of talking about the Vietnam War, and we've had the Afghan War twice, but again, that was over there, but it was in a different capacity. But I mean, we've never seen a war like this.
Like this one. Yeah, on European soil, that march, I think, he's trying to bring the USSR back, nobody wants that to him. So, I want people to, and it's so hard because we think, oh, that's all the way over there. What does that have to do with me? It really does, because if we don't contain Russia now, we will have World War III. There's no question. And those of us who have not been conditioned to a draft, not been conditioned to having to worry about military arsenals being launched, not having to worry about what it means to see our world basically crumble. And, you got World War III, honey, the economy is gone at that point. Like, there is no economy at that point. Everything starts to shut down. And so what we hope and what we want people to engage around is this idea that we want our government, along with other governments, and even Switzerland. Like, Switzerland is supposed to be the symbol for neutrality, and they were like, Switzerland picked the side. I was like, okay, now we got something going now. Switzerland, I'm picked. And so we got Switzerland with us too. Really, really pushing our government to make sure that we get this thing stopped. And there's already been so much carnage. So many people have died and suffered. I've seen the videos. I've seen it. It's just heartbreaking, and it's hard to watch. So my hope is that we get to a place where that gets resolved really soon.
Yeah. So I'm going to end it there. So I'm going to ask you to come back again. As you are here in Cincinnati, so we'd like to have you back again, maybe on a quarterly visit to talk about what's going on with the elections and everything else like that. That would be something that we would love to do with you. But thank you.
But I will tell you quickly, I know we have time. We just announced today that we are supporting Stacey Abrams again for governor. CFA was one of the first organizations to support her in her first run. And we just launched our endorsement of her today. So we're going to be kicking it in Georgia, honey. She's going to be the first Black woman governor in American history.
This is my, it's so rare for me to do celebrity moment for me, but I got to meet, I went to NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. It was held, I think it was in Detroit. I think it was in 2018, 2019, something like that. And I went for a few days and she spoke and I got to hear her. In fact, I got a photograph with her and right in front of the elevator. And I was just like, and she was impressive then. And I mean, just think what she accomplished in 2020 for the elections. And now it's just unreal that she's able to play the game that they created, and they're trying to figure out, what did we do? What happened? They're still trying to change it, but it also seems like to me that there are a lot of older men trying to hang on to what they think they should have and do before they lose it. And I think that's Putin. He's seeing, because Ukraine wanted to join NATO. That would put NATO right at his front door. And he's like, oh no, we can't have that.
That's right.
It just seems like everyone is trying to hang on to a past that kept them in a position of power. And they're trying to stop the evolution of time and advancement and growth. And eventually it's going to backfire for them.
That's true.
I'm on the backfire. So
there you go. It's coming. 100% true. No lies detected. You are absolutely right.
Okay.
And they have to be ready for the world to change, because, honey, we here and we ain't going nowhere.
We will definitely have you back again soon, and we'll just see what happens. John?
Thanks, Andrea. So now we'll switch it over to Morgan Angelique Owens, where she'll align us with some beauty, lifestyle, and culture. So take it away, Morgan.
All right, thank you, John. So I am super excited to have on the show another Boss Babe beauty entrepreneur, Ashley Yancy. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Sure. So can you just briefly introduce yourself and your business to the audience?
So I'm Ashley. I'm a board certified nurse practitioner. I have been in healthcare and nursing for almost a decade, so about 10 years. I most of my experience is in long-term care, working as a nurse. I went and worked full time while I was in school, graduated, got my nurse practitioner, and I started my own mental and medical spa in Miamisburg, Ohio. So that's pretty much my journey in a nutshell.
Yes, we love that. Now, my audience knows that I love med spas, and I think that a lot of women of color don't think it's for us, but it absolutely is. For me, it's luxury self-care. So can you tell me a little about your med spa and things that you have to offer?
Yeah, so my med spa is House of Restoration, Mental and Medical Oasis. I focus on the brain and the body whole wellness. So I do IV hydration, which helps with multiple things, but rehydration, helping like with dehydration, it gets rid of headaches, brain fog. It helps with energy. It helps with bone health, skin health. I also do medical weight loss and natural weight loss. So we can have people come in, I prescribe medication, and I walk with them through their journey as far as them losing weight and being healthier. I educate my patients on the effects of their habits and stuff like that now. So that way, when they get older, they kind of have more quality of life and not dealing with hypertension, diabetes. I also do Botox. I just now started doing Kybella, which is the liquid lipo for the double chin. And then I also do wellness counseling as well. So that kind of is just patient driven. So whatever they're going through, whatever they need to talk about, they come in and they just kind of lead that conversation and we go from there.
Yes, I need to come holler at you and get me some more Kybella.
Yes.
Yes. Botox, everything. I just love it, and I'm so happy to see a Black woman injector, especially in Ohio, there is relatively slim to none. I know, some places in Columbus, but, you being closer to Cincinnati, Dayton area, I think that's just awesome. How do you view, Botox and Kybella for minority women? Like, what is your take? For me, like I said, for me, it's self-care luxury. But, how do you address people that don't think, especially Botox is for them? Because, people love to say Black don't crack. I'm like, yes, it can.
Right.
So what do you tell people that say that, oh, Black people don't need Botox?
I just educate them because everybody's different. There are some people that, if it's personal to me. So if you feel like the wrinkles bother you, let's do it. Like black does crack, like you said. People get older and that's natural and it happens and it's okay. And if you're not happy with the wrinkles, we can definitely fix that. I just try and help people be comfortable in their own skin. So if the wrinkles bother you, we can fix it. If not, if that's not a problem area for you, we won't address that. But being Black and getting Botox is fine. I know a lot of Black people that get it. They're just not as open with it. I think it's because of the stigma that Black doesn't crack, but self-esteem is a big deal. When you're happy with yourself, you're just happy in general. So I just want people to be happy.
Absolutely. And also, Botox, I got into doing Botox because I get really bad migraines. So,
Yes.
The migraine medicine made me nauseous. So, my dad, he's a physician and he was like, well, try Botox. And this was maybe like, I'm 36 now. So this was almost 10 years ago that I started getting Botox. Wow, that's ridiculous. I'm saying that out loud. Almost 10 years ago. Wow, time flies. But, it helped me with my migraines. But then I'm like, oh, I love how it makes my forehead look smooth. And it's so much easier to apply makeup. And, my face looks so much better. Even without makeup, when I have Botox, it just looks smooth and soft. So, Botox can solve other issues.
Yes, for sure. Yes. People come in usually and they're like, yeah, I get it for my migraines, but can I get it for cosmetic as well? And I'm like, absolutely. We can definitely do that. So yeah, people just need to be educated.
Yes. Well, I am here to lead them. So we're going to have to do some sort of like Herald Beauty pop-up up there and where you are this year.
Yes,
so
that would be amazing.
together.
Yes.
Yes, so I know we did a featured story on you. So everyone, please make sure you check out last week's Herald and check out all about Ashley. But she's going to be on again in the next upcoming months too. What I love to do to end it is tell me your 3 top beauty products you can't live without.
I would say my top one is always going to be like a lip balm or like a gloss. I cannot leave the house without putting on some type of, something on my lips. I don't wear makeup every day, but like a gloss or something on my lips is a must. My second is mascara. So I just tried Bad Gal, I think it is, by Benefit, their mascara, and I really like that. So mascara is my second, and then any type of body butter or like cream for my skin is the third. Those are my top 3.
Yes, got to stay moisturized, if nothing else.
Yes.
So please let us know how we can support you, your website, your social media.
My website is thisishor.com. You'll see all of my services about me and everything there. My social media handles, Instagram is House of R Med Spa, and then Facebook is House of Restoration Mental and Medical Oasis.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you for having me.
All right, John, back to you.
Thanks, Morgan. Well, everyone, that's it for today's show. And once again, thanks to Cincinnati Public Schools for sponsoring today's show. Thanks, Andria, for coming on and discussing all this good chocolate news.
Oh, thank you, John. It was a pleasure.
And once again, thank you, Yvette, for coming on to our show. We really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And remember, you can find more information about today's topics and past podcast episodes at www.thecincinnatiherald.com, the Sesh newsletter, or on our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And also make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. Our podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, the Facebook mobile app, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. I'm John Alexander Reese, and have a good day.